Welcome in to episode 26 of our Let's Play Humankind series featuring a Commons Quarter strategy. We are at the very absolute end of the industrial era. In fact, our first thing we'll be doing is moving up into the contemporary era. In our episode today, we're on turn 144. That feels early. This strategy seems to be working out quite well. Again, we could talk about whether that's due to the Commons Quarter or not, but the strategy is working out. If you need to find out all about the strategy and how we've implemented it in this game, how the early turns went, in the description below is a link to episode 1 of this series. You can catch up on all of the action that got us to this moment where we will be moving up from the industrial era into the final era of our Commons Quarter strategy game. We're currently playing the Italians. We'll find out what our final culture will be here at the very beginning of the episode. Let's jump into the game. Here we are, of course, in our capital city of Ashur. Ashur is now just a haven for wonders. We have built so many wonders here. We have the Pyramid of the Sun. We are currently in 2 turns going to have the Eiffel Tower. We have the Santa Maria del Fiore. We have the Palace of Versailles. We have the Statue of Liberty. And even outside of that, we also, I almost forgot, but we did put, indeed, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon over here on this ebony. That was our early wonder build. So we've got a wonder that's just kind of sitting out there. It's just like all by itself. It's just on this gorgeous like cliff with plains around it. So that we have going for us. Oh, we also have Angkor Wat, which is also just sitting out by itself. There are way too many wonders in this city. We didn't even put all the wonders that we built here. Essentially, we got so far ahead that we've built just the most ridiculous amount of wonders possible. We might as well just keep doing it at this point, right? We snowballed into just... You should never have this many wonders, I feel like, in the game, but here we are. And the only reason that we're actually able to do what we're doing in our capital city right now is really because of Angkor Wat, because of the food that is being generated out of Angkor Wat. Again, just beautifully sitting here all by itself. We are essentially able to have a population of 89 when our pop cap is 52. And we still have 226 surplus food. This is, again, we have enough per pop BIMS things that, like, we're fine. Like, we're doing just fine. So we're not too concerned about it. I do think that at some point with this overpopulation number, we're going to end up with some semblance of challenge as we get into the contemporary era here. Food may become potentially a problem, which will slow our city growth down, which at some point we were going to have to slow city growth down. We've been growing by leaps and bounds despite having no room in our population to do so. So we'll see just what occurs as we get into the era here. But the best thing that we have done on the last episode outside of the wonder building was all of our Teatros are 1 turn. So we have production into all of our Teatros. So therefore, when we move up, they will not leave our queue so long as we do not delete them. As you can see, we have doubled nearly the second place team in fame, which just seems completely ridiculous at this point. And in fact, we are we're going to be 2 eras ahead of everybody when we decide to make our move up here. Let's take a look at our stars really quick. You will notice that we have gotten way too many stars as well. We could have grabbed another militarist star if we would have maneuvered things appropriately. We just didn't need them. Merchant stars aren't really coming for us, although in this next era, they may. So we'll see how far we can get star-wise, but we've got just a ton of stars for this particular era. So we are more than ready to move up. All our Teatros are 1 turned in, and so we take a look at where we will be going for the contemporary era. Our first move is to select our culture. Now, we went over a little teaser at the end of the last episode, so I won't kind of go through everything here. What I will tell you is that if we were not playing a Commons Quarter strategy, we would pick the Cubans. Why would we pick the Cubans? Number one, I already mentioned this, and you could go see this in our previous game, but the Cubans are, in my opinion, essentially broken. The Impresa Pharmaceuticas, which are our research quarter, are immensely powerful. So much so that I think the Cubans are probably far and away currently the best contemporary era culture. You could argue for some of them, for example, if you play everything right, The Brazilians could make your food just absolutely insane if you've paired that with previous cultures that will also increase exploitations and things like that. The Japanese are kind of traditionally, I would say, are viewed as maybe the best contemporary era culture just because they give you the things that you need in endgame, which is production and science. Like those are your two big endgame pieces that you typically are seeking. Japanese give you those in droves. So those would traditionally be your best ones. But if you've slept on the Cubans, number one, go back and watch my Humankind difficulty playthrough where we did our first Humankind difficulty on YouTube Let's Play series. We played the Cubans at the end of that one, and it was just disgusting, like what we were able to create at the end of that game. So it's these impressive pharmaceuticas that are crazy, right? And in our game right now, again, we're not going to do this, but +5 food per farmers on overpopulated. That would be +5 food on per farmer on any city that is overpopulated. So all of our overpopulated cities would just get to continue to be overpopulated. So the Cubans essentially allow you to be overpopulated and benefit from it, as long as you stay overpopulated. Now, as soon as you drop below overpopulated, you're going to end up with problems, right? So if you're right on the cusp of being overpopulated, like the Cubans are like a question mark, because if you get like non-overpopulated, that could be a problem. Although typically you're going to keep being overpopulated because you're generating more food while being overpopulated. So again, we would make out, like, it would be great for us in this particular game. And then of course, on settled cities, which all of our cities are settled, you get +5 industry per worker, you get +5 money per trader, +5 science per researcher, and then on top of all of that, you get +10 stability per pharmaceutica on all cities, which is absolutely like, there is nothing bad about the impressive pharmaceutica. Every single thing that is here is like absolutely fantastic. There's like no negatives with the impressive pharmaceutica. It's all in all just like probably when you get to the end of the game, if you have overpopulated cities and settled cities, this is like your best bet. And in fact, if your cities aren't even settled, don't even worry about it, because they will be after you build impressive pharmaceuticas, because you get +10 stability per pharmaceuticals on all cities. It's just I just think I think that the impressive pharmaceutica just makes them the best contemporary era, like just period. And for me in particular, because I play the game with such a growth-oriented mindset, I end up with lots of farmers, lots of workers, right? And additionally overpopulated, typically. So they're very potent. However, as we discussed, there is the Singaporeans again. They do have like a benefit to, there is like adjacency for commons quarters for their communal housings. But the communal housing also requires, in order to even place communal housing, you have to be underneath your city cap. We are well over our city cap. So Singaporeans are great if you're doing like a one city challenge, or you just have a couple cities that you're basically just combining all together, right? And in fact, they basically, like, their ability is you could absorb cost at -50% influence cost, and you get +10 stability per number of attachments on your capital. So the Singaporeans really are geared towards, do you have one or two cities and you've combined your empire into just one big giant thing? If you have, the Singaporeans are kind of your go-to, right? We have not done that in this game. I'd actually love to play a game where I do like a true one city challenge. We did it in Civ 6 just a bit ago on the Twitch channel over at twitch.tv/madishmoose. And it was quite a bit of fun, actually. We played a game as Portugal in Civ 6, did a one city challenge, and I actually got one of my fastest wins ever doing that, which was kind of crazy. I'd love to try, like, honestly, like a true one city challenge in Humankind, which I think would be very, very difficult, especially at Humankind difficulty, because having multiple cities to start is like really, really important. I think that a one city challenge in Humankind is actually very difficult until you get towards the end of the game. I don't even know if it would work, to be honest, but it's on my list of like things to possibly try in the future if I ever get to it. Our choice is going to be the Indians. You just can't pass this up as far as a Commons Quarter strategy. They are going to be the choice for any Commons Quarter strategy in the contemporary era. +5 influence on territories. You're going to keep pushing influence just at a ridiculous rate. Every territory is going to get +5 more, and +3% money per number of territories in your sphere of influence on capital. Now, it's only on your capital, but +3% per number of territories in your sphere of influence. the number of territories that is in our sphere of influence is absolutely astronomical. We're gonna like exit out. I'm gonna look at the numbers like when we click the button, like what are our numbers? Because it's gonna be absolutely crazy. And then the big thing here is with the Ashrams, they're not a great district. +5 influence, sure, but do we really need that? Not really. It'll make us like a more of an influence powerhouse. +3 faith per adjacent district. That's fine. Whatever. We don't need faith particularly in this game. Our faith is already spreading throughout the entire world. And then on religious district, +1 money, +1 science. We've kind of set ourselves up for this in a way. We've picked some religious districts, so we will get a nice little boon in money and science as we build our ashrams in. The biggest thing here is that they count as a commons quarter, so we're going to get all of the commons quarter benefits on this. They count as a religious district, so we're going to get all of our religious district benefits on this. So, like, generally speaking, because it counts as those two things, all of a sudden it becomes worth a lot more. Because we have all kinds of civics and different texts and different things that state when a thing counts as a commons quarter, when a district counts as a commons quarter, we get this FIMS, that FIMS, this FIMS. Like, the bonuses end up stacking on each other quite nicely. And then on top of all of that, it counts as a commons and a religious quarter. And as we talked about last week, that means we can build it at a reduced cost. It's also an emblematic district. So we're actually going to stack all of our commons quarter reduction production cost, religious district production cost reductions, and our emblematic district production cost that we got out of the civic that we applied to get our Tietros down, right? All of those will be in play. We'll be able to build in our ashrams like a turn a pop. I'm pretty sure it's going to go incredibly fast. We'll put them all in right away, and then we can turn our attention to other things. But we should be able to get all of our ashrams in, I would argue, within the first probably 6 to 7 turns of the era, and I think every single one of our ashrams will be in, because I think they all get one turn, like just like that. I think they're just going to absolutely crank, which count as a commons quarter, and then obviously if you could build districts in faster, then you get to do other things with your production, which is obviously good. So we'll be progressing pretty quickly through. The Peacekeepers seem like they're a perfectly fine unit, particularly if you're playing like I do, which is more peaceful, right? They are peace protectors. They get bonus combat strength for each war declared on their owner. So if someone declares war on me, if you have Peacekeepers, they would end up being more powerful as a defensive unit. So again, 57 strength, like pretty decent, but I think they're pretty early in the tech tree as well. I could be wrong, because I don't really pay attention to where unique units come in tech trees, but I do think the Indians are the choice to make here. I don't think they're the choice to make, generally speaking. There are other choices you would make in the contemporary era. However, if your influence is really high and you've already spread your cultural influence across the land, you can boost your money by a ton. So before we adopt, let's check our money really quick. All right. Oh, here we go. We're at 6,592. So 6,592 is our current per turn money, right? So let's see at 6,592. Let's see what happens when we adopt the Indians and get that 3% money per number of territories in your sphere of influence, right? Let's just find out what's going to happen. Here we go. Into the contemporary era, the Indians are our culture.
The human mind, creative, imaginative, and ingenious at turning every single human invention to its most violent end. We pray or hope, looking forward to a future which, with luck, will be counted in millennia, not in months. Great philosophers, great mathematicians, great food. Sadly, the elephants are no longer armed.
All right. Into the contemporary era we go, and our districts change to contemporary era districts. Our walls just disappear? That's kind of sad if they did. I didn't realize that happened. There's a builder star right away.
The Eiffel Tower.
The Eiffel Tower built.
What you can
we
do
just
with a bit of iron,
that basically.
A bit of math, and thousands of liters of paint.
Beauty. All right. Our walls disappeared. That's a bummer. I didn't realize that happened. The walls all went away. There's just fences again now. That just doesn't look as cool. I actually feel like that's an unfortunate truth. that happens. Like, even the walls around our Danu got deconstructed into... That's actually disappointing. I don't think I've ever noticed that before. I mean, you all probably have seen it a bunch of times, but because I don't build walls very frequently, the fact that our walls got downgraded basically to, like, chain link fences in the contemporary era, I feel like any new districts that happen, that should occur, but I feel like no one's tearing down those walls. I mean, some people had been. I feel like that's unfortunate, because the look and feel of it was really cool with the walls, but oh well. Oh well, I didn't know that was gonna happen. Now I'm kind of sad. I'm kind of sad about the aesthetic of it. I didn't know. We have aluminum over here. We've got uranium over here, right in the middle of our city. That's exactly what you want in the middle of your city, is a uranium mine. But that's what's gonna happen, I suppose. All right, where'd our money go to? 6,900 to 13.7K per turn. More than doubled our total money output on just kicking the Indians because of that percent. And here's why. Again, every single one of these circles that is orange, primarily in color, means that's 3% to our gold. If we take a look at this, does it say... It would say in Ashram, right? Or in Ashur. It should say on our money. Yeah, we're making 9,200 money here. Because this only applies to the capital city, we should be able to see where that money is coming from. Where's the big number? There it is. Plus 7,027 money from Economic Elephant, our cultural trait. I wish it would tell us, it would be really nice if it would tell us how many territories are under our influence. It might tell us that somewhere. Does it tell us that here? Yeah, it does. 147 territories are under our empire's sphere of influence. So, really quickly, I'm even gonna because I don't math good, 147 times 3. That's 441% increase to our gold production in our capital based off of the Indians' economic trait, which is just absolutely incredible, right? So there you go. That is the power of having your influence spread all over the land and then picking the Indians. We now have the capability of doing many, many things. Let's run through the first turn of the era and see how we're going to kind of get about the start of the era. Gothis
Death
is
from
now starving as
starvation.
well. This is not good.
It seems that these are the times that
-1.
try
Okay,
people's
this is fine.
dietary habits.
This is fine. We have a hamlet coming within 6 turns. So, again, they're at 96 pop. They have a 71 pop cap. We don't mind if they don't grow for a few turns here, right? So if they just sit here at the 20, there's 22 turns before we lose anybody. Once this hamlet goes in, then we'll get our food production back up, and we'll have to focus food for a little bit here. We also want to start doing ashrams in as many places as possible, so we'll kind of kick that off as we go as well. So we're not too worried about that particular start. Grievances, as per usual, and a couple of our cities are still gaining population, including our capital, which again, just mind-boggling to me because we're so far over population cap. It's crazy. And we haven't really built any hamlets there either in our capital. They've never caught up. Early cities, that happens to, we've talked about this, right, is that early cities end up really behind in districts and in infrastructures typically because as you get new cities in and you have the colony plans in and things like that, it pre-builds all your infrastructures so you can keep up on district building. As you're trying to build infrastructures in, you fall behind on district building in your capital, and then because it's your first city, usually you end up, you have high production because it's your first city, but eventually you fall behind. Like, it's just like how it happens, right? Let's check our wonders, because we now have access to the final era of wonders. We do know that there are still 3 wonders left in the previous era because there's no one in that era currently. We were the only ones there. Let's run through our wonders really quickly. We may even make a selection as to which wonder we may want to pick, at least to reserve first. We're going to build in our ashrams first before we build another wonder, I believe, but Christ the Redeemer is a very nice wonder. You get it counts as a religious district, so it's a little cheaper to build if you have that reduction on religious district costs. Obviously, it's got some adjacency bonuses. It's got a faith bonus and a stability bonus, just like most of your wonders. But on all cities, plus 10% food, 10% money, and 10% industry. Just across the board, every city, 10% gain on food, money, industry. Easy really nice FIMS bearing wonder, really potent, right? 10% is really nice, especially at this point in the game. Empire State Building is your money wonder. This is where you're going to get your gold from. 20% money generated from ongoing trade in all cities. 15% money per adjacent quarter. So again, it's got the adjacency. That doesn't really matter so much. But 20% money generated from ongoing trade is usually a pretty decent chunk of money, to be honest. Especially in your capital. And again, this is on all cities. So it doesn't matter where you put it. It impacts all cities. Ever since they changed trade, like a year plus ago, like maybe even 2 years, I don't even remember, when the big trade change happened, essentially, the Empire State Building probably was a better wonder back when trade was different. Now that all trade runs through kind of one city, I don't feel like there's as much kind of on, like that 20% gets applied pretty specifically in the capital. So it's not bad, but it's not probably as good as it maybe used to be potentially. But again, a decent wonder as well. You have Barcana Stadium. This allows you to basically choose between several different projects to get you bonus money, bonus influence, or bonus stability. It can be a pretty decent wonder. In our case, right, you get +8 influence per adjacent commons quarter. We might pick this one just because we know we can get some really good adjacency on commons quarters. And since it has commons quarter in its text, it lends itself probably to being built in a commons quarter strategy game, just offhand, right? The Mauna Kea Observatory, and I probably pronounced that wrong, I apologize. This is your science wonder, +5 science per number of trade routes on city or outpost, which again, in your capital city, that could be really big. And then +5 science per alliance on Empire. So if you're allied with a lot of people, you're going to get another 5% boost. It's actually really potent. These numbers could be really high as you start to go through it. +5 science per number of trade routes. If you take a look, for example, at our capital and take a look at trade routes, if I can find my capital. If you look here, you can see the trade relay here is 371 sold, 642 bought, and 156 extracted. Every empire in the game is relying on trade through Assure at this point. And so I don't know which of those numbers actually counts as like the number of trade routes, because again, I think that when they updated the trade thing, they didn't change their text on some stuff. My opinion is it's probably somewhere in the middle of all of these. But even if it was the lowest one, right, the 156 extracted is probably not the number, but even if it was the 371 just for the resources we're selling out of here, 371, if you look at that +5 per number of trade routes, you're talking about 371 times 5 in science. And that's only if that lower number is the one, right? So automatically you're getting a huge boost in science from this observatory. Also, it just looks really cool. The Congress of Humankind was one they introduced when they did all of the embassy and World Congress stuff. This is probably the worst wonder in the game. Maybe you could argue for another one, but getting additional sway is just not. I don't find the World Congress to be a hugely impactful thing. Now, it does help to stay away from certain ends of those political axes and things, but it's just not very potent. I would typically not build this unless I was seeking fame for some reason, because that 100 fame at least gives you something worthwhile. The Pentagon is your war-oriented wonder, so if you're looking to increase your number of bombardments per turn, which actually is very potent, like it's a very powerful wonder, you also get a 25% reduction on any unit that has the bombard ability. So you could really build a war-conquering machine if you have the Pentagon as well. So there's your war-oriented one. And then your final wonder is the Sydney Opera House. This is, again, another very powerful wonder. You get on Settled City, 10% food, 10% money, 10% industry, and 10% science. All of our cities are settled. So if you're making a choice between the Christ the Redeemer, which has some adjacency bonuses, so you get like some maybe extra stuff out of it. You're getting 10% food, money, and industry on Christ the Redeemer. You are only getting, so you don't get the adjacency bonuses with Sydney Opera House, but you get food, money, industry, and science at 10% on Settled City. And I'm not quite sure, I'm assuming that on Settled City does mean on all cities. Like you can see on Christ the Redeemer, it's on all cities. And I think what this means with the Sydney Opera House, it says on Settled City. I think it's on all settled cities. If any city's in a settled state, they all get the 10, 10, 10, 10. But I'm not sure that's actually true. Maybe in the comments somebody could let me know if I'm correct on that. But I do believe that makes the Sydney Opera House probably the most potent wonder in this particular era of wonders. I think Christ the Redeemer is close as well. In addition to if you're looking for science, the observatory, if you're looking for gold, the Empire State Building, I'd probably rate them Sydney Opera House, Christ the Redeemer, Mauna Kea, then maybe Empire State Building into Marcana, Pentagon, Congress. That's probably the order that I'd put them in. Arguably, you could jump back into and do Big Ben. Big Ben is like very, very valuable. 10% science on capital. That's even better than the 5% for Alliance. So it's only on capital, right? So like there's a slight difference between 5% period and 10% on the capital. The capital is probably generating most of your science at this point, but you never know if you've got another building or another city that you focused on, research quarters or something, right? How that might look. So there's a lot of options here. I think for the sake of it, let's claim Sydney Opera House just to have our claim in and have a wonder claimed. We're not going to build it right away, but I think that we will eventually. I want to get the Ashrams in because what we're going to do is after we put our Ashrams in, we're going to retract this, and we're going to go back down this to get to this effect of +1 science on Commons Quarter, +1 money on Commons Quarter. Now, we don't want to do that until we've built in all of our Ashrams, because right now, right, we're getting a -20% production cost on our emblematic districts. We're stacking that with our reduction of, I don't even remember what it is. It's something over here, right? Which one? Yes, -30% cost on religious district. So we've got this one up here, which is -20% on emblematic. We've got this one here, which is -30% on religious district. So we're at -50%. And then I cannot remember which one it is. Here, this one. -50% on Commons Quarter industry cost. Wait, isn't that minus, if we stack all that together, is that not -100% on Commons Quarter? Like, if it's a Commons and religious and, can we put these, hold on. There's no way it stacks quite like that though, right? There's no way that's how it works. Take me to a city that needs to build something. Toledo, can you put these in for free? What is the cost of this? 313. The Ashram still costs 313. So the stacking, like percent stacking, and that makes sense, right? Percent stacking doesn't quite work like that because one of them is going to happen first, right? It's not like a sum total. So it's going to be, you're going to get 20% off the cost, and then you're going to get 30% off that cost, and then you're going to get 50% off that cost, or whatever order they calculate it in, right? I'm not sure if it would matter whichever way it goes. I think it would. Whatever that calculation is, it's dropping our Asram's cost down to 313, right? So if we compare that to, let's say, a Maker's Quarter at 1,761 costs, right? So 1,761, and we're dropping down to 313 as our cost on the Asram due to all of those reductions, right? It's 100% reduction, but it's calculated, right, 20% off. It's probably calculated 50% off because that's the first civic that you'd enact. Then it's probably the 30% off from the religious, and then it's probably the 20% off from the emblematic. So you're getting a 50% reduction, and then that number is getting a 30% reduction, and then that number that's left is getting another 20% reduction, and that's where probably the 313 is coming from. We could run the math to see if that's right, based on what the cost should be, because the cost should be, I would assume, equivalent to approximately, maybe like the market quarter would be a better one to compare it to, because we only put one of those in. The cost would be approximately 1,662. So if you ran the percentages off, which maybe I'll do off stream, you actually could probably figure out if that's the order it's being calculated in to get to the 313. Either way, it's very, very cheap, which is going to be exciting for us as we go to do those things. So let's go ahead and just, all of our cities that aren't building anything, we're just going to start putting Ashrams in. I just want to get them in so that we can make the switch in civics. So I'm just gonna go through and literally place all of my Ashrams. Like, that is what we're going to do for the next, I don't know how many minutes it's gonna take. But I'm just gonna put them in spots where I think that they're going to be the most beneficial. And this is interesting because so Ashrams also are free place, apparently. I didn't realize that. And they also full exploit? Hold on. No, they exploit food and production. They are free place. Right, they don't have any bonuses, but you can see, like, look at the numbers that we're getting here, right? On religious district, +2 influence, +2 money, +2 industry, +3 money, +3 science. On a commons quarter, +4 influence, +3 food, +1 industry, +1 money, +10 stability, +1 science. Those numbers are not big, but because they're all stacked and crashed on top of each other, they end up being very valuable. Plus, we have a free place exploit on to get food and production, right? Not quite as good as a hamlet, right? But we can come here, we can exploit all the tiles around it, and we get all the bonuses there. So you see, we place an ashram that would seem like it's not that great on face value. It's going to end up being worth 22 food, 26 industry, 4 gold, 4 science, 10 stability, and 15 influence. Every single FIMS is accounted for, some of them more than others, but we get like great bonuses out of this, right? The other thing that we need to think about is because it counts as a commons quarter, getting them next to Teatros is actually probably very beneficial, right? So I believe this is a Teatro, right? So if we place something adjacent to a Teatro, the Teatro goes up in value, right? So you can see, let's see what if we can see what the number is. Yeah, it goes from 29 to 31. So we get an additional 2 influence. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, which is probably why we're not going to be making very many decisions based off of that. But for the most part, you get a nice little influence bonus if you're putting these next to your Teatros, right? Teatros would like adjacency to commons quarters. So this one counts as a commons quarter. So we could be looking for adjacencies when we put these down. Honestly, I think putting them down as exploits is probably going to be more powerful for us. And because I don't want to go through and like look for Teatros everywhere, I'm probably just going to put them down wherever the most yields are suggested. And so usually that's going to be where the computer tells me to put it. So I'm probably just going to go through and start plopping these down. And most of them I think are going to end up sitting kind of in the middle of places, which is probably fine. I don't really mind either way what it's going to pull off of, as long as we get them all in, right? This seems like it's fine. So we'll continue to place them down. That is nicely adjacent to 2 Teatros. It looks like these are both Teatros, right? Yeah, double Teatro adjacency on this one. So that's a perfect spot, right? Plus we have adjacency, which increases our faith on our Cathedral Gotica. So lovely spot for that. And hopefully we see some of those like really nice adjacent ones, right? You're going to have these ones that don't have any adjacency particularly, but they're going to get you your best yields. And so we'll just continue kind of placing those. But then you'll also see some of them that are going to be tucked away like in between things because your bonuses are going to be really nice. Again, like exploiting on this river is really nice. And probably we should be building in our hamlets first, because what's going to happen is these are going to take really nice hamlet spots probably. And so most of our cities having hamlets would be like a good idea for these, right? Let's see, this is 8 food. Let's take the higher food if we have a choice. But again, Teatro adjacency and Cathedral Gotica adjacency. That's honestly the perfect spot for these ashrams, right? Adjacent to the cathedrals for a faith bonus on the cathedral. Adjacent to the Teatros for an influence bonus on the Teatro from being a commons quarter. And then you form a little triangle of those districts, which I think is really nice. 5 turns to put all of our ashrams in Toledo. Fever season. Unusual wave of sickness has broken out in the overcrowded metropolis of Habana. Well, everything is overcrowded. Do we institute quarantine measures? I feel like the answer to that is yes. Habana, I'm sorry, but you have to be quarantined. All right. Our tech choice is going to be straight through to civil engineering. This is something I never do, but because we're so far ahead, I don't feel the need to rush it. We're going to go into civil engineering to get access to colony grid because we have one more city we want to put in. And I waited specifically for the aesthetic reason of I wanted the city that we put in to have an Indian name. So we're going to go with an Indian city as our final build. So we're going to go into civil engineering first. That's going to be a quick little 2-turn. And then we'll go straight to our win condition, which will be the space station as we head in that direction. So that'll be how we do things. And then I'm debating, so as I look across, like this research quarter, yeah, but like we should just place TH, right? Like we should really, we should be placing our ashrams is what we should be doing. So I think we go about that. That's fine. Oh, again, we're probably taking up some hamlet spots here. There's your, again, Teatro Cathedral adjacency. Love to see that. That's all of them, it looks like. Oh, can we buy out? Let's buy out oil. We're gonna have let's do a little city maintenance as we go through. We can buy that out. That looks fine. Food is highly questionable here, so we may have to. And then I think, honestly, like I think take this research quarter, we push it all the way to the back. So that's that city. So we go to our next city. Let's go to Bahama. They're building a hamlet in 2 turns. Let's see if there's anything to buy out here. Nothing specific. So we'll put all of our Teatros down. That's fine. We're gonna put them adjacent to them. They don't have adjacency bonuses with each other. So this actually a questionable decision. Because what it's pulling off of is that we can exploit this tile and this tile, but I actually feel like we should build that in before we place this one. Because I think the likely place for this is probably going to be like down here. Down here gets us exploits. Let's put it here instead in this particular territory. Because I don't like, that's going to already be exploited up there. I think down here is more valuable. There is some cathedral adjacency. I think that this would be... Well, this exploits the river, which is what they're going for, right? Gets us way more food. But we can place something else over there to exploit that. It doesn't have to be this. I like the adjacency of having this together. I'm just going to put this here for aesthetic purposes. They want me to replace this commons quarter. No, a farmer's quarter in the middle. I don't think we'll replace quarters. We have a cathedral adjacency here. Oh, we didn't put it here because we put it over there. Oh, that's kind of a bummer. Maybe we should put one here and not there. I like this exploit though. Yeah, because we would have to replace... Well, we could put it here. That's actually decent exploitation over here. I don't mind that. Let's just put it right here. There we go. I said I wasn't going to think too hard about it. There's your perfect cathedral to Teatro adjacency. And there are all those. I'm going to let them finish their hamlet, I think, first. Ah, they've got enough food. The heck, we'll put the hamlet at the back. Alright, let's go to our next city. I'm going to run through all my cities here, so this turn's going to take forever, and then we'll probably just crank a few turns at the end here. So this is all open space territory. I like right in the middle here for the exploit. That one we won't do, probably. So it's going to tell us to put one there. We're going to not do that one, and instead we're going to come back over... Where does that territory end? This whole territory runs all the way up in here. So where do we get some good adjacency? Right here, actually. I'm going to go right there. The benefit of this is that it exploits... These exploit rivers really, really nicely because it exploits all of the river. So I think this is actually worth it, right? We can exploit river. Because there's very few districts that will exploit food and industry. So it's actually a really nice district to start taking advantage of river that you may not have been able to take advantage of. Especially near your capital where you probably aren't going to put a hamlet. That actually works, I think, quite well. That's another one, but we do have good adjacency here. We can go right here, that's fine. We'll do it. Okay, and then I'm going to move the hamlet off. We have plenty of food in this city, so I'm not too... Plato, we got them placed already. Go to Madrid. They're building hamlets like crazy. Here. That's lovely adjacency. Could put it over here, but I don't think we're going to be building market quarters anyway, so we'll just put it in. That's... Yep, perfect. We like to see that. Good adjacency there. This one is just taking advantage of that. I think we almost have to do that, right? We could bring it in over here or something, but like 34 production, we're just exploiting forest. Does feel kind of funny. Like we've got these ashrams and we're like, hey, taking advantage of the forest. Now that's already one. Oh no, that's a hamlet. But this would be some amount of good exploitation. But let's see if there's a good adjacency here for us instead. I like the idea of connecting it into this city. Put it over here. Okay, and then we have another possible spot over there, but I think we go south with it. We go down here. That works. Okay, and then let's finish this hamlet just for the sake of it, because it's got one turn left. But we'll put all these towards the end. Madrid's gonna get all those in 3 turns. 3 turns. All right, Roma. Again, we're just kind of exploiting at this point. In these, especially in our newer cities, there's going to be a lot of just places where there's no real adjacency bonuses because we just don't have a lot of districts in. That's nice. That's a little double adjacency to Teatros. That's a nice little spot right there. I like it. And we got one more spot where we can get some exploits in, and that's probably just our best bet. I mean, we could come down here and like stack it together, which would look kind of cool. But we could also get some good exploits up here, some nice production bonuses and things. So let's go ahead with that. Although that's a hamlet, so So we're not actually getting that much from it, but that's fine. We'll finish this hamlet. We'll put the rest of them towards the end. Get those Tetros in 4 turns. Sorry, I keep saying Tetros. We'll get the Ashrams in 4 turns to do that. I feel like we should put these in too. We'll do that when we get to the city. All right, Ashur is building Tetros, but we should probably just... Man, 18 turns to finish these Tetros. Holy smokes. I feel like the Ashrams are going to be a better bet to, like, just get stuff done. That is this territory? Oh, that might be the best spot in that territory, yeah. Okay. That's fine. We'll do that. And this territory, yeah, that's fine. That gets us some adjacencies. We can do that. I don't like that, per se. I don't like the potential exploits there. Don't feel great connecting in with everything that we're doing on this side of the world. But do we have any great adjacencies? Here's a Teatro. We could go adjacent to that. Something in here would get us some decent stuff. That's a commons. That's so research quarters would fit right here. That's a tumulus. So actually, yeah, maybe right here would be a nice spot for it. Connect it out to that. That's actually not a bad play. I'm gonna go with that. Put that in the main. Oh, that wasn't even the main area. Oh no, it cuts through here. Oh, so we could still do this one. Oh, that's perfect. Cool. Let's do that. Up here, yeah, we're probably looking at something that's just like smack dab in the middle. Here we go. Let's go here. And oh, that was it. That was the one. Okay, so we go. Last one is way up here. Yeah, that adjacency is fine. Doesn't particularly matter in some of those newer ones. Okay, and then the question is, I feel like we should just put all the Ashrams first. Well, the Tetros will come, but they will come at a later date. Because I can get all the Ashrams in 10 turns. I got 25 turns now to get all the Tetros in. Which, I don't know, we'll see how fast it all goes. There you go. Yeah, Ashrams in super speed. Even in this territory, right, they cost us, what, 723? Our regular territories are, our regular ones are costing us 3,401. That's wild. The difference there is crazy. All right, Nineveh, let's get your stuff in as well. This turn is the longest turn I've ever taken in this game, perhaps ever. But I feel like we're just setting ourselves up to just press the next turn button a whole bunch of times, which I'm not opposed to. I'm just going to start placing these. That does not have any adjacency, although it looks like we're putting a hamlet there and a hamlet there, so none of that actually matters a ton. I feel like we should put it here. This is much better. This is much better adjacency. Those 2 hamlets are going to exploit all the rest of that. We'll pay a little bit of attention to kind of where we're replacing things here. Is there any adjacency we can get here? Not. That one's kind of brand new. So we're just exploiting. Oh, is that a hamlet or a TH? What is this? That's a hamlet probably from another city. It doesn't really matter, does it? Because we can't get adjacent to anything in that territory. No. Again, if the hamlets were in, we'd probably get a better idea of maximal positioning for these, but it's like it wants us to put it here, right? Because it doesn't see that all the hamlets are coming in. So we are instead going to go adjacent to other things. Like here probably would be like a really nice adjacency. Or in here. What are we going to put there? Let's just put it right in the center. Because we could also, yeah, put one out here for... Again, that's going to be a hamlet, so it's not, like, perfect, but... Okay. These guys do need food, but, again, I'm just going to... We're going to build all the Ashrams in first, because I want to get to a place where we can switch off of that Civic. So we're just going to keep moving everything around there. Right. Continued placement! Bear with me! Alright, what's this city? Can we get anything? This is... I really don't. Yeah, I guess we just attached this. Must have just attached it. And again, they're saying, like, put them next to each other, but I don't feel like we should. I feel like we should come probably over here, somewhat adjacent to this beautiful Teatro that's up on the hill. I think that'll be lovely right there. This one, they're saying, oh, exploit this? That's quite lovely. You know what? That's beautiful. We're just going to do it. That's a lovely spot in that mountain nook on the river. I think that's just like a must. That's a must have. Yeah, we could have gotten double adjacency up here, but that was too pretty. We had to do it. This is just to take advantage of... So I'm going to put it right here, because I think this is a better spot for it. From an influence standpoint, it's a better spot. Now, we don't need influence, except that we're trying to, like, fully exploit, you know, everything that we're trying to do. I think we'll stick it up here. This could be a hamlet. Put it up here. This... I like it maybe in between all of this. Like, right here. That's a 17... 8. That's... What if we do here? Let's go right there. At least get one adjacency. Here's a double adjacency of that. And we got one more in this territory. And I'm wondering, can we get a double adjacency here? Not really. Yeah, let's put it, we'll offset it. Okay, and then they're still building Teatros, actually. And we do need to hamlet here as well. In fact, we probably should hamlet before we Teatros. Let's put the hamlet in first, then we'll go through. And then again, before Teatros, though, let's put... Yeah, go. Propaganda is done. Ah, wait, we made it all the way around. We did it! All of the Ashrams have been placed, and we are prepared to hit the end turn button. Longest turn ever. Here we go. We've reached the final era. We could do all of these different things to end the game. Gone through all of those in previous Let's Play series, so if you'd like to, you can check out any of our other ones, any of our other Let's Play series. The Humankind difficulty one is probably the one where we go in a lot of more detail on those kind of things. End of a foreign war. Nox and Plosif have ended their war. Let's see how that turned out. Did that, in fact? Yes. Yep. On the New World, you remember that Plosif had a claim out here. Plosif has, in fact, lost that claim. So Plosif loses the war and loses the claim. So there you go. That was the claim we were going to try to snake from him. And now I don't believe Plosif is involved in any wars. And so we have a big question mark as to, will we ever have war declared on us in this game? Plosif has been our ally for the entirety of the game, but he has been on edge, pushing towards, we're jealousy right now. All of our treaties have been redacted. We are just allied. That is it. Everything else, even our embassy agreements, nothing is left between Plosif and I. And so there is a possibility for war operations happening.
Tell me what is on your mind.
I cannot do that for early in the
There's just no way.
All right. So, as you'll notice, we have nothing to do except for press the end turn button until we get the tech we want. So let's just do that. Every one of our cities is building stuff for the next, like, bunch of turns, so we're just going to be kind of progressing through the era here. Here we have colony grid, so now we can put in our final city. Also gets us access to offshore platforms. +1 money per land trade route on all cities. You'll see that our gold has now gone up to 20.6 thousand. So civil engineering is definitely a very nice research thing. Also gives you access to the construction team. Creates a city with some industry and 6 population, as well as infrastructures from the industrial or early era. We don't actually have to do that because we're just going to make it. We have plenty of influence. There's a builder star already. Agreements have unfrozen. We had frozen agreements, apparently. Nox has moved up to the Zulu, and Plosif has moved up to the Ethiopians. And so now we finally have people moving up to the era that we just left in that. And then we've got some grievances. We now get to choose our next science because we very quickly researched into civil engineering. We do need access to uranium and some other things, but the most powerful thing for us currently is just to get to rocket science so we can start our space station. So we'll just click right through there. It'll take us through this tree. It'll get us access to aluminum so we can start putting those in. Then we'll get access to the space station so we can start projecting. We also want to come down and grab the uranium at some point as well. We'll start teching through different things as we go. Habana is growing. Didn't have any, no starvation ones there, so that's also good. We have, again, our armies from Plosif just kind of running around. Just running around in our territories. They're full stack armies. We're technologically so far ahead that I'm not too worried about it. But, I mean, they are arquebusiers. We'd have to upgrade our people. But you also see that he's got great swordsmen still. We have access to the final era of techs, and he's running around with great swordsmen. So, holy Toledo. No way. Yeah, Toledo, in 2 turns, just built in every single ashram. But we pressed the end turn button, what, twice? Maybe 3 times? 3 turns? Tops. 3 turns tops. And Toledo has built in every single... That's why. Look at all the money we have, too. We need to buy out some stuff. What about this? Oh, we can't buy out the aluminum yet. We won't buy out anything quite yet in these. So, Toledo is free and clear to begin construction of the Sydney Opera House. Which we just... Yeah. We're gonna... You know what we're gonna do. You know what we're gonna do. We have to do it, right? We have to put it right here. Has to go here. I think it has to go right here. This is the spot. I mean, it doesn't get more beautiful than that, right? We're gonna get nothing from it, just 40 stability. We're just making our capital the most beautiful place in the world now. There we go. So we just go into Sydney Opera House now with Toledo because they're done building things. Oh my gosh, Madrid's are all in as well. Madrid is just cranking hamlets now as well. Oh my goodness. All right, so we end turn again. I cannot believe how fast that went in. Oh no, we don't end turn yet. Wait, hold! We could do one final kind of big thing this episode. We could put in our final city. We have a 1617. We'll put 2 pop, so let's discount the food. So 17 industry, 19 industry full pop. 1814, and that's with 4 population already? That would make for a nice city center. I like this one as our city center. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put in any nature reserves that we can.
An excellent initiative, your nature reserve.
There
are things on this earth worth preserving that, inconveniently, do not have the right to vote.
What is it's industry per adjacent makers quarter? Where are we putting makers? Let's put it here because it might look fun down in this valley. Oh, that's a terrible location for a train station. It's awful. Let's put it up here at the top. Also a terrible place for a train station. You know what? Put it in the forest over here. I don't think we need an aerodrome, so I'm not going to do that. I don't want to put in the... we're not going to waste time with that. And then I think we'll just evolve it. Solaris is going to become our final city. Mumbai. Population gained a bunch. We'll set it to expert policy. Science over this. That will get it growing. In excess of 1,000 food. And you'll notice every single infrastructure outside of the infrastructures we have resourced already here, which is conveyor belt, is there. It's funny how little I've built things like the conveyor belt, maybe like once in a game of Humankind. So then we will jump to our other territories here real quick. I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to put in any nature reserves that we can, because why not? And then I think we'll throw in a train station just for the goodness. Adjacent makers, right? So let's...
A link for commerce and commuters. With this, the iron horse supplants its 4-legged predecessor.
Mainly because of that, right? And then, so that one's done, so we can attach that. And then we just go through each of them and kind of do... Stick it in. Go. I'm mainly doing this because there's a pollution reduction, and since I'm not going to put a train station in everywhere, but it's kind of fun to have these train stations in. It increases travel, it decreases your cost. Actually, the big thing with these train stations is a 50% trade route maintenance cost on each of your relays, which is actually quite a big reduction in gold. In fact, we should probably put one of these in our... We need to build one of these in our capital city because so much trade runs through our capital. I bet you we'd save a bunch of money if we put one of these in our capital. That's going to be fine. I'm not going to put the...
The first train stations link up.
You know what?
Connect distant lands.
Let's just
transfer goods and travelers at unthinkable speeds. Hopefully, the lounge car is well stocked.
Also getting us builder stars, so... Okay, so we did that one. We did this one. Let's come down here. We'll do this one. That's the order of those. Train station next to somewhere we're going to put... Oh my goodness. Put 1 million of these in. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to put one on every... We have the influence. That is the beauty, right? We have the influence to do this. The nature preserve everywhere where we can. You know? And then we'll combat that by putting down a pollution-filled train station. And we're gonna put it... Where are we gonna put it? I don't even know. Okay, so now we take Mumbai. I'm literally just gonna run every single one of these attachments. Attach. Attach. There's an expansion star, which we love to see. Attach. We get one more expansion star. Ah. Don't. We are now fully attached. If we had one territory more, which we would have right here. Let's see. I gotta check. No, we needed 2. But we were going for 2, right? We were going for 2. The one that Plosif had and this Free People's that we didn't end up getting. Bummer. All right, so Mumbai can do one final thing, and that is... Let's get all of these down. Now, these are... Yeah, I think we just use these as full exploits, right? We just take the exploits off of these? Yeah. Yup. There's nothing else to do with these other than take best exploit spots. We're 0 turning these. How many of these... Will we get all of these in one turn? I honestly think we will. I think we're going to get all of them in a single turn. We use Azrams to boost the city through the absolute. They're just going to be in the best possible spot for yields. All of that is going in basically a turn. I bet you these finish in a turn. That's intense. Okay. Mumbai is in. The episode, I believe, has come to a conclusion. We did not get through very many turns, but we are set and ready to just like crank through turns on the next episode as we beeline for our endgame condition. You'll notice that our numbers have drastically increased. We have 8,000 influence. We have 21,000 gold per turn. That's the biggest change from going to the Indians. We have some things we need to check as well at the start of the next episode. So we'll look at things like civics. We will look at things like religion, and we'll look at things like the World Congress just to double check what's going on there. We'll check all of our treaties and things at the start of the next time, because I know we focused on just getting everything in. But basically, we have every single build in that we need to like progress to endgame at this point. And so we're going to be focusing on getting those done. And then my goal is to hard focus Commons Quarters. And yes, additional Commons Quarters in optimal Commons Quarter locations. I want to see if, as we are progressing towards kind of our victory conditions, if we can build in or buy in Commons Quarters in locations that will end up making the Commons Quarter really the centerpiece of our empire. I'd love to see us with actual, like, we've only built a few, like a handful, honestly, like one or two in every city, standard Commons Quarters. Everything else has just been emblematic districts that are Commons Quarters. So I'd like to do a little bit of playing around with that as we head towards the end of the game. We're also going to rapidly approach the end of this series as you can see our science is kind of spiking very high. We're making 20,000 science per turn right now. So we're very quickly going to approach our end game conditions. Depending on how many resources we have, which we have enough territory that it shouldn't be a problem, we might go very, very fast, even through to the end of this game to figure out what we're gonna have for the ending of our Commons Order strategy. Thank you all so much for tuning into the episode. It is always a pleasure to make these. Thank you for enjoying them. If you liked it, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. I'd love to hear from you. Comment on the episode. That always helps with this engagement. Always much appreciated when you comment on the episodes, and I try to comment back to everybody who's doing that. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Make sure notifications are turned on so you know when we release these videos. We'll start to talk about kind of the future after the series is over here shortly during the next couple of episodes, so stay tuned for that. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.